Hey everybody, welcome back to Engaging the Phenomenon, and welcome back again to Ask UFO Twitter. In this edition of Ask UFO Twitter, we're focusing on the idea of phenomenon or phenomena. And what I mean by that specifically is when we're talking about the UFO phenomenon, are we talking about one or several different things? One being phenomenon and several being phenomena. Now, to be clear, over many decades, people like Dr. J. Allen Hynek and Jacques Vallée have referred to the UFO phenomenon as the phenomenon. And that's just specifically to point out everything that kind of goes with the UFO phenomenon, specifically in a much larger sea of unknowns, which could be considered phenomena, and has also been called anomalous mental phenomena when you're talking about psychic phenomena, or what some people would call paranormal or supernormal, things that don't necessarily align with our current understanding or view of physics, but nonetheless are observed in there, whether objectively or subjectively in some cases. Now, my own opinion on this, and based on different experiences, research, and talking to many people about this subject over the years, is that when we're talking about the UFO phenomenon, specifically, I do think that we are dealing with a range of phenomena, so it being possibly several different intelligences. And that goes from everything from the ETH, the extraterrestrial hypothesis, to interdimensionals, or a number of other things that are often thought to be involved in the UFO phenomenon. And the reason I say this being is that there's so many different things that come with the UFO phenomenon that it's hard to imagine that one intelligence or sentience is behind all these different phenomena that go along with all the different contact experiences, abductions, alleged UFO crashes, and all the reports and sightings. Now, that can even mean, just say we want to break it down to basic, simple bones, it's just extraterrestrials or aliens, right? Even if that were the case, there's so many different reports of sightings and the different things that people see, that even if it was just extraterrestrials or aliens, right, the most basic, simple, plain answer, we would probably be dealing with several different intelligences. It doesn't seem, even if it was just extraterrestrial, that it's just one intelligence or species of extraterrestrials that are currently engaging with us or have engaged with us over several millennia. There seems to be an entire broad range and spectrum of different observations and experiences.
Hi, my name is Sean Cahill. I've been asked to provide my thoughts on phenomenon versus phenomena. While researching the subject, I realized that those two words don't fit in as simply as we may think they do, and there's an etymological and semantics argument behind them. So I'll touch on a couple of those details really quickly. On the one hand, if asked, I would say that I feel that the phenomenon is a provable or observable fact. I believe at this point that the history of continued programs and interest in it by various factions agrees that there is definitely something worthy of investigation here. Now, when we try to break apart phenomena versus phenomenon, I think most of us are commonly brought to a question of, is it one thing or is it many things? In this case, I think that it is probably most useful for us to discuss it as if it were many things that were probably utilizing a similar medium, as if we were talking about different things that exist in the sea. For example, there are very low-level life forms in the sea. There are higher-level life forms, such as cetaceans in the sea. And then there are vehicles in the sea. And there are things like jellyfish and other things like that. If you weren't familiar with everything that went on underneath the ocean, you might think of that as an entirely different dimension. So I think in some ways it's useful to discuss the phenomenon as if it were many things that shared a medium. I think that would fit most of what the programs we have seen that have studied it would fit it under a umbrella of study that would most easily slide into our current scientific method, so to speak. On the other hand, there are some that theorize that there is only one phenomena occurring across this larger system. Now, again, I don't know if we're having a semantics argument here, but if we were to look at the 5 observables and the remainder of the more psychological reports that may have come out of some of the official programs, I think we see something that if it is one thing, it would appear to be a controlling aspect in our environment, perhaps. And if it is that one thing, it seems to be able to present itself as whatever it wants. And therefore, it would be almost impossible for us to ever determine what that thing actually was. So I don't find that very useful until we can prove that to each other with physical evidence. So therefore, I lean towards more the fact that we are seeing many phenomena occurring via the same medium of phenomenon.
Hello, good morning, good evening, good day, good afternoon, and aloha. Thank you so much for engaging the phenomenon, for inviting me to give my thoughts and opinions on this week's topic. In case you don't know who I am, my name is Lue Jiminez. I'm the YouTube host of the Unidentified Celebrity Review. This Twitter video will be on the topic of phenomena or phenomenon. Is this UFO and UAP anomaly one thing, or is it many things? Phenomenon suggests that it is just one thing, whether it be alien, whether it be time travelers, whatever your theory. It is a belief that it is one presence behind these crazy lights and craft that we see in the skies and in our oceans and coming out of the earth in the weirdest and most wonderful and sometimes terrifying ways. And then the other phrase, phenomena, suggests that it could be multiple things. It could be spiritual, could be a telepathic connection on a subconscious or conscious level that we just don't understand or haven't accessed the right filter in our brains to see. I think if you had asked me 5 years ago, phenomenon, I would have gone phenomenon because I was pretty convinced it was alien. You ask me today, with all of the discoveries that are constantly made every day and our expansion of conscious and thought and science, and the smaller we get, the weirder things seem to get. I would say I am more in the phenomena camp today. I do believe that the possibility of this being a multitude of things is a lot more open-minded and welcoming and accepting than it just being one thing. With that said, I don't think either phrase is wrong, the difference between UFO and UAP. It's almost the same kind of conversation. The bottom line is, if you're using this phrase, you're probably talking about it, which is a good thing. So either one you use, I don't think judgment should be passed. I think they're both right. I don't think there's a wrong answer here. And but if I had to choose one, if I had to put my finger on one, because I think that's kind of what this video is about, I'd put it on phenomena. I do believe that once we get down to the bottom of this, scientifically speaking, that we're going to find this is a lot stranger and a lot weirder. I just think we're going to find that we were way off, way off on our theories. I think it's going to be a lot more profound than people are thinking. I think aliens is the simplest explanation. Well, past, it being military planes, the next simplest explanation is it's aliens. Past that, a lot of people don't tend to think. And I think as we get deeper into this, more people are going to be forced to think that way. So we'll see. It's a fun question. It's a fun thing to think about. I really enjoyed answering this. I really enjoyed thinking about it. Thought about it for a couple days, and so I hope this answer fulfills your need for more knowledge or opinions on what folks think about UAP and UFO phenomena. It is a rabbit hole that never ends, and I'm going to slowly go down it. and try and inspect every nook and cranny of this rabbit hole. And so I thank you again and everyone over at Engaging the Phenomenon. Really had fun doing this. Can't wait to do it again. And yeah, I can't wait to have you on my show. When you coming on? Anytime, man. I would love to pick your brain. So hope all is well. Thank you again. And to all out there, be safe. Peace.
While the phenomenon may be an okay way to reference this unknown reality in a colloquial manner, with greater specificity and accuracy, I would say phenomena plural is more apt. And the reason is because I don't believe this unknown reality is only coming from one source any more than I think you watching this are me in the most literal sense. Now, our consciousness, we may be part of the same consciousness, but we still have a unique identity. And I think that can be applied to this unknown reality as well. You look at near-death experiences, people go through the tunnel, they see that light. And that light they see ultimately may be a representation of the infinite light that sort of filters through, creating us all. So ultimately, we may be all one, but more specifically, we still have some uniqueness. And of course, you hear about people when they're about to pass on. If that's what indeed is happening, they'll see loved ones come greet them. Are they seeing themselves? No, they're seeing loved ones. So this greater reality that may consist of extraterrestrials, may consist of interdimensional beings, may consist of time travelers, may consist of beings that are even native to this world and conceal themselves from detection, and on the list goes. I actually think that is phenomena, plural. So I think ultimately the reality we're dealing with is not one source, but is multitudes of identities, just like me and you are two different identities, and even more bizarre than that. Now, the thing that I find so disconcerting about this other reality is that it all collectively has decided to conceal itself from making itself noticeable in a way and in a fashion in which our world institutions would recognize its reality. So one of the great mysteries, one of those mysteries that I really, really am perplexed by, is if all of this phenomena is truly different. Extraterrestrials, ultra-terrestrials, i.e. beings that are native to our world, to this earth, time travelers, interdimensional beings, or whatever else could be out there. Why have they all chosen to collectively make it difficult to prove their existence? When we all know that if they wanted to prove their existence, it wouldn't really be hard for them. Or would it?
Hi UFO Twitter, Foyboy here. Just wanted to start by saying thanks to James and Engaging the Phenomenon for putting these Ask UFO Twitter series together. I think they're great. This one is going to be about whether the source of the phenomenon is a singular source or multiple sources. And to me, this is a great and a very fascinating topic surrounding the entire field of ufology. And something I think that is more likely to get clarification in our lifetime than the actual source of the phenomena. So I think we'll get clarification, whether this is coming from one place or multiple places. That may not be much, it may not be very assuring to other people, but still I think that's progress if we do ever get answers like that. So in order to really evaluate what we're looking at here, I think it's important to take into account the work of Jacques Vallée, John Cahill, and even the brief work of Mac Tonnies. And the reason being, I think John Cahill made a very convincing point that there's data that you can connect that really indicates there is some sort of coordination behind all these different anomalies. There is some common reoccurrences, like I think, as I recall, Wednesday evenings had the most reported sightings of UFOs. And it's a strange thing to report. If the source of, the phenomena is so multiple, why are they all showing up on Wednesday night? I can't say it's causation versus correlation here, but it's something that we should take into account. I don't think it's right to commit that it's one or the other until we feel sure, and there's no reason to. Why would you submit that the source of something so complicated is what you suggest without being forced to submit that? I think until you need to make evidence-based decisions, and right now we just don't have enough evidence to say definitively one or the other. But I think personally, if I had to put money on the line and say, hey, based on the analysis I can take right now, I can't say it's a singular source in my opinion, but I do think there is a common denominator, and that is consciousness. So at the end of the day, it's happening over the median of consciousness, these interactions. They appear physical, they may very well be physical, but at the end of the day, that connection is through your consciousness and to whatever consciousness is of the others, whether that's multiple others or a singular source of other. So to me, the commonality makes this a singular source, but it may very well be more complicated than that. And I'm not prepared to say one or the other, but I lean towards that commonality of consciousness between whatever it is that's interacting with us.
So is it one thing or is it multiple things? I guess that's a great question. I think it's multiple things. I think it's whatever it needs to be for you. I think it needs to be whatever it is mentally for you that the phenomenon understands you before you understand it. I think what it does is it appears to you the way that you can best receive it. And for some people that's craft, some people that's orbs, some people that's angels, some people that's demons, whatever it is. I think it's multiple things, and I think it's all of it. I don't think there's one or two things. I think there's multiple things all over the place, and there always have been, and there always will be. I think whatever your consciousness creates, a visual representation of that shows up for you. And with that, it strikes you at your unconscious very hard to a point where you instantaneously know what this is. You know what this is, you know what it's doing, and you know why it's there. Not right away, but I think it seeps in. So I think, is it the phenomenon or multiple phenomena? I think it's multiple. I think some people see things and they want to see them. Now, when it goes to group sightings, when there's multiple people seeing the same thing, I don't know if that's a collective consciousness that does that, where everybody collectively experiences it the same thing, or it's tuned into whatever wavelength of everybody's there, or everybody expects to see something like Fatima. That could be a good example of everybody expected to see the miracle of the Virgin Mary, of the sun, and then the sun came down and did that in Fatima, and that was 50,000 people plus, maybe 100,000. So I don't know. I can't figure out if it's something that collective consciousness holds on to or individual, but I think it's both. So is it ships? Is it craft? Yes. Is it orbs? Yes. Is it angels? Yes. Is it light beings? Sure. It's all of it. It's all of it all the time. And it all depends on what you want to see and what you want to do. Can you call them? Can you experience them in a way that you can relate that experience to other people? Sure. I'm positive you can. You just got to believe in yourself, and you just got to be able to do it. There's protocols, there's things out there to do it, but I think everybody's been able to do it all the time for all of humanity. I think we're still learning. I think one day we'll have an open dialogue, even if it's on a one-to-one level, but it's multiple things. It's not one thing. And I think we're all along for the ride. We just got to take the reins and make that horse do what we want to. So keep asking questions, do it. Everybody's in this together. There should be no separation. There should be no you, me, he, she. I think we all need to do this as one big humanity, and we'll finally figure out what this is all about.
Hi there, my name is Cristina, the hostess of the Paradigm Shifts UFO channel. The question is it UFO phenomenon or phenomena? I am a young UFO researcher, a part of the millennial generation. And now, with Gen Zers, we have fresh minds that are just jumping into the subject. We are exposed to all kinds of news media and science fiction that was unheard of years ago. And so, we can imagine things more easily, concepts, and use technology that no one could even imagine 20 years ago. And so having this kind of imagination coupled with having an open mind makes all aspects and possible theories valid possibilities. It could be extraterrestrials, it could be military devices, it could be interdimensionals, and it could also be artificial intelligence. Quantum physics scientists are researching other dimensions and trying to prove that they exist. Let's take, for instance, the Perseverance rover that just landed on Mars. With partial artificial intelligence, it is more logical to send something like that than to send ourselves, especially in an environment that we are not used to. We are a species of curiosity, and with that curiosity has led us to the level of technology that we are at today. And when we see those things that look kind of odd, it piques our curiosity. It says, ooh, what could that be? And like I said, the possibilities are endless. When it comes to us, humans, we feed off of curiosity. And without it, we don't do research, we don't care. And we really cut ourselves, cut off our leg, because without research, we'll never get to know the truth. And I think once we do know the truth, it will shock us all. I review a lot of UFO sighting videos for the UFO channel, and I'm always struck by the unusual sightings of how the objects behave in a very automatic way. What I mean to say is, they behave very logically, as if they're testing us or the environment, as if they are probing or examining. It seems very automated. So I'm inclined to believe that a good percentage of the things that we see in the sky could be drones or probes from another civilization or even another dimension. So let's face it, if scientists knew how to transport something from this dimension to another, no doubt that they would send a probe first filled with technology, with cameras and video. Because in another dimension, we don't know the physics, we don't know the laws, right? So they wouldn't send themselves first. And with this kind of knowledge, maybe beings from another dimension would do the same, because maybe they just couldn't survive here. The laws of physics could be totally different between dimensions. And finally, there are two other possibilities. So the first one is, we could share this planet with another race that is far older than us and living deep under the oceans. Maybe their world became unlivable and we are coexisting side by side, but we, the humans, have no idea. The second possibility is maybe this is all just military technology that is far more advanced than we could ever imagine, or that is commercially available. So to conclude, my mind is open to all of these possibilities. It's fascinating, a little scary, and really exciting. Something's going on. And like I said, it could be so fascinating that when the truth finally comes out, it is going to blow our minds. So what can we do now? We can keep our eyes on the skies.
Hi James and everyone at Engaging the Phenomenon. It's Andy from That UFO Podcast. Really excited to be back on Ask UFO Twitter, and this time is it phenomena or phenomenon? So for me it's phenomena, the plural. I had to double check that on Google just beforehand, I'll be honest. There's so much in this topic now that it's changed from flying saucers coming from another planet to being almost like an umbrella with so many things coming off of it. I mean, I've got a list of, you look at Skinwalker Ranch and all the different things that happen there. It's not just potentially aliens or entities or different dimensions or realities. You hear about werewolves, ghosts, you hear about things crawling out of portals. There are so many different things that happen in and around that ranch just on its own that is all being studied in the same sort of vein and the same method. So yeah, like ghosts, alien abductions, the breadth of alien abductions, what happens within those abductions, the types of abductions, the types of experiences that people have as well, I think are are so broad and unique, yet it still falls under the category of an abduction. Again, that's how we label it though. Different types of craft. You've got nuts and bolts, you've got your, potentially non-physical craft. People see the same craft, but they see different things. It's so, there's so much to it for me. There's a lot all under one umbrella. So, thanks.
Hey, Jeremy McGowan here, and you are inside the O.S.I.R.I.S. For those of you who don't know, the O.S.I.R.I.S is the Off-Road Scientific Investigation and Response Informatics System. I have developed this thing with some sensor technology to go out and about and track down some UAP, but that's not what this video is about. Today we're discussing whether or not it is phenomenon with an N or phenomena with an A. So I think we should take a look at the ideas of proper grammar to begin with. Phenomenon with the N, that comes to English from the Greek through Latin, and it is the definition is that which is seen or appears. So basically exactly what we use it for today as well, but that's the singular, the phenomenon. The plural is phenomenon with the A. So I think what we need to do is to figure out which one we're going to be using. Is we literally have to define what it is that we're talking about. The phenomenon, as people are currently referring to it in common vernacular, is a singular term, but it is referring to the panacea of strangeness. We are lumping in things that occur at Skinwalker. We're lumping in UFO, UAP, shadow people, even sometimes cryptids, under the blanket term of a singular phenomenon. So that being said, I personally believe that we should be looking at this as a plural, a phenomena, and inside the phenomena, man, I can't get the Muppet song out of my head. Anyway, now you're welcome for that earworm that you're not going to be able to get out of your head for the rest of the day. Under the phenomena, we need to break this down into separate categories. Nuts and bolts UFOs, those that come from spacefaring civilizations and travel great distances. The potential of interdimensional or time-traveling craft, or the manifestations of consciousness and things like that. All of those need to be categorized under phenomena, and not one singular group being a singular versus a plural. I think that's where we're at. I think that it is phenomena and not phenomenon. So there you have it. The O.S.I.R.I.S agrees. Thanks.
Thank you so much, guys, for tuning into this video, and super thanks to all the participants of UFO Twitter who made this episode happen, and for UFO Twitter as a whole for participating and carrying on the conversation and taking a very proactive role in engaging the phenomenon and the aspect of speaking with others, sharing information, and keeping the conversation going. Be sure to check the description for the information for the people who participated in this video. I highly suggest that you check out their content, that you follow them on Twitter, and if they have YouTubes, follow their YouTube or other social medias. Again, thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We will see you next time. Take care.